Dare to create great love. Since Valentine's Day is just around the corner, just coming up on this Friday, isn't it? We're going to move just a little bit away from our focus on daring greatly, but we'll delve right back into it when I get back. And we'll actually go a little bit into March with it because it's such a great book and there's just so much to do. I think I could probably talk about it for the rest of the year, but I won't do that because we're going to do a book study on it. It's such a great book. But Valentine's Day. I know that Valentine's Day can bring mixed emotions for some of us. And for those of us who are in a loving and sacred or holy romantic partnership, it can be a really lovely day. But for those that aren't in that kind of relationship, well, maybe not so much. But you can all be heartened today because we're not going to make it about daring to create romantic love, although we'll explore that area a little bit. Rather, we're going to address what it takes to create great love all around us. And love is something we all want to experience because it's our divine nature. It's who we are. We are birthed from infinite love, and we came to this earth plane to have tangible experiences of it. And it's a big part of why we are here. And we're really kind of obsessed with it, aren't we? Not necessarily in a healthy way, but we are obsessed with love. And if you're not sure about that, let's just take a look a little bit at the music industry. And we're going to complete these song titles together. So everyone tune into your iTunes in your head, okay?
Rich.
So here we go. All you need is
Love.
okay. You've lost that.
Loving feeling.
Might as well face it.
You're addicted to love.
Very good.
You're addicted to love.
You're addicted to love. You can't hurry.
Love.
The look of.
Love.
Looking for.
Love.
Where?
Love.
You guys are good. How deep is your?
Love.
When I fall.
In love.
I just can't stop.
Loving you.
You're going to have these going in your mind all day, aren't you? I just called.
Sad I love you.
You guys are good. You don't have to.
Say you love me.
I was going to say that, but I didn't dare listen.
Who sings that?
Brenda.
Yeah. You don't have to. Okay.
Yeah, I know the song.
How about hello?
Young love.
No. Well, that's a good one too, but
Hello.
think Doors.
Hello, I love you.
Yeah. There you go. This guy's
In love with you.
can't buy.
We love.
Stop.
In the name of love.
Okay, I think we've got it. You guys
Actually,
are good.
tonight there's going to be a 50-year salute to
The Beatles.
Oh,
So
yeah.
everyone, I was there, I saw it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Did you go to the concert?
No. I saw it on the Ed Sullivan Show.
That night, my oldest daughter was 12 years old, and we had one television, and the father always had the choice. Well, she came in the living room and brought her and her brother with her for support, sat 3 feet from the television and told her father they were going to watch the Beatles.
And they did.
I go, who's the Beatles? She says, we're watching the Beatles. And they did.
And history changed, didn't it? But we could really be here a month of Sundays, couldn't we? Doing all of the songs that have love in their theme. But I think you get the idea. It's all about love. But is it always about the kind of love that will bring deep soul satisfaction to our lives? Is it always the kind of love that supports our being big for God? And not necessarily. So today, as we move more into our week of love, we're going to look at the kind of love that will bring the deep soul satisfaction to our lives and the vulnerability, there's that word, it takes to create it. The ancient Greeks spoke of several types of love, and a man called John Lee in the 1970s did research around them. And we're going to look at them briefly just to lay a little foundation for our work today. And as I describe the types of love, see where you have experienced them, and also touch in whether this has supported or hindered you from being the greatest expression of God in human form that you can be. So we have eros, from the Greek word erotic or passionate love. This is a romantic love with a deep intensity and a longing. It's the type of love we mostly see where? Where do we see this kind of love? In the movies. And it's often what initially attracts a couple to each other. And it's also what Valentine's Day tends to celebrate. But there's a catch. Unless things deepen beyond this type of love, it's difficult, if not impossible, to maintain. An example of Eros love would be the movie Titanic. We don't get to know whether or not the relationship between Rose and Jack would deepen or not, because we're left sobbing at the end of the movie. But boy, did that have a powerful romantic pull there, didn't it? Then we have ludus, another type of love from the Latin word meaning sport, play, or conquest. Those engaged in the ludus type of love are often referred to as players. The focus on having fun in the moment, to those who play in this arena of love, have challenges maintaining long-term, soul-satisfying relationship. Think of Casanova, right? Then you have pragma, and that's from the Greek word meaning practical. This is driven by the head and not really the heart. It's non-emotional. Love is generally approached in a business-like manner. An individual thinks rationally and realistically about expectations in a partner or a friend. Think of arranged marriages. Think of the movie Pride and Prejudice. You know, how you kind of had to do the little checklist, right? Then you have mania, which is a Greek word meaning frenzy. This is the opposite end of pragma. It is a highly volatile type of love that focuses on obsession, and there's a deep need from the one practicing it to desperately know that they are loved. Think of Fatal Attraction. And there's philia, characterized by brotherly, sisterly love, strong, deep relationships. Think of Butch and Sundance, Wayne and Garth, Thelma and Louise. Well, or Thelma.
I would have jumped off the cliff too, or yeah.
Then there's storge, a Greek word meaning natural affection, the type of love between a parent and a child, family devotion. Think of Deborah Winger and Shirley MacLaine in terms of endearment. But there is another type, and in fact, if you ask me, it really is the only type of love. I don't believe that there are different types of love. Contrary to what I was just explaining, I really think there is only one, and all the rest are just an application of it, such as storge or philia, or something else in love's clothing, such as all the rest. The only real type of love, and the only thing that will bring deep soul satisfaction, the only one that will call us into being big for God, is agape, from the Greek word meaning divine or spiritual. It is selfless, altruistic love. It is pure and unconditional. Instead of seeking the security of being loved, agape simply desires to be love. It is giving without asking anything in return. Agape is the form of love that is preached and ideally practiced by all of the world's religions. Agape is the divine love that God shows for us, and which is in each and every one of us at our core. It is pure, unfiltered love. It's the real deal. Those familiar with the work of Greg Bayer, it is real love. And his definition is just such a simple and yet beautiful definition of real love. Real love is unconditionally caring about the happiness of another person. Wow, that's agape love right there. He practiced and wrote this amazing, amazing book. And I saw him speak at a Silomar, and he brought people up to the stage and had them talk about issues in their life. It was really a moving. You were there. It was very powerful, really powerful. But think for a moment about the master teacher Jesus. He practiced agape love, didn't he? And so did Mother Teresa. Think about Oskar Schindler. We've all seen Schindler's List. The subject of that profound movie. The agape love that Schindler grew into was amazing, amazing to watch. At first he was merely a businessman making business decisions, but then he transformed into a man who has true agape love. In the language of our conversation here this morning, he became big for God as he developed his agape love. There's a scene on the train track toward the end of the movie when the people whom he has helped give him something. And I'm not going to spoil the scene by saying too much, but grab a box of tissues when you rewatch this movie and look for the example of pure agape love. Agape love is what Emmett Fox was talking about when he wrote, "There is no difficulty that enough love will not conquer, no disease that enough love will not heal, no door that enough love will not open, no gulf that enough love will not bridge, no wall that enough love will not throw down, no sin that enough love will not redeem. It makes no difference how deep-seated may be the trouble, how hopeless the outlook, how muddled the tangle, how great the mistake, a sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. If only you could love enough, you would be the happiest and most powerful being in the world." To open up to agape love requires us to be authentic, which requires us to be vulnerable, which brings us back to our Daring Greatly book. And that's where Daring Greatly really does come in, because it's risky business to be authentic and vulnerable in the area of love, isn't it? It's very scary. Yet you have to climb out to the end of the limb to find the best fruit. Bit tipping. Here's an interesting idea from the mystic poet Rumi. Your task is not to seek love, but merely seek and find all of the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Imagine that. I want to spend our next few moments together tearing down one significant barrier we create within ourselves that will absolutely prevent us from experiencing, giving, and receiving agape love. That barrier is the fear of being judged. Discernment is wonderfully useful. It's a great tool that we use in our lives, yet this trait can be destructive when it turns into negative judgment. We're afraid to be authentic because we're afraid of being judged. And if we're not authentic, we can never experience real love or agape love. And if we never experience agape love, we can never truly be big for God. And so why do you think we fear being judged? Do you think it has anything to do with how judgmental we can be of others? We do it all the time, don't we? Let me give you an example of a life-transforming experience. And I shared this a little bit in class last week because I knew I was going to use it in my talk. And this was a minister friend of mine, and we were at a conference, so the room was filled with other ministers. And she shared this, talk about stepping into vulnerability. And it dramatically illustrates being loved despite being judgmental. She started her story by saying that if it were not for this experience, she would not be who she is today. And let me tell you, she's an amazing woman. What she experienced was both humiliating and terrifying. Those are her words. Of course, when she's speaking, the audience is totally glued. It's like, really, we want to hear about this. And she starts to tell us that she'd always thought of herself as being a nice person. And we're going, well, yeah, we think we're nice people too, right? And the audience is relating. And she says, in fact, to your face, she was very, very nice. She was very complimentary. And underneath, not so much. Underneath, she had a lot of judgment. She was extremely critical. She didn't really realize this. It was just who she was. She didn't think, oh, I'm a judgmental person. She just went around going, making judgments. But as she began her spiritual journey, she began to see this. And she began to recognize this about herself. And she didn't like it. She didn't like it at all. And she wanted to be rid of it. She wanted it to go away. And she really tried to stuff it. And she tried to keep it hidden. And she realized that it just wasn't going to go away. Because it came back. You get angry, you get stressed, and boy, there it is. It's right there. And by now, quite a few of us are thinking, yeah, I've had my critical moments. I remember driving on the freeway or down the street, or anytime I get in a car. Yeah, I can be judgmental. Okay, so we're relating. And she continues with her story, and she tells us that one night she was in therapy, and she had a group of women. And she spoke to the circle about how she wanted to rid herself of that voice in her head that was so harsh and critical and cutting and cruel of others. She spoke about how she was realizing that being judgmental was holding back, keeping her from being the spirit-centered person that she wanted to be, and how it was preventing her from ever experiencing love in any deep and real way. And so the therapist, who she felt was brilliantly intuitive, and I'm inclined to agree with her, she set up this exercise. And after telling the rest of the women in the group how important it was for her growth and asking them if they would be willing to support her, even though it was painful for them, they all said yes. And she had Mary place them. This is what she had her do. And this is where I think every one of us were going, oh my God, I don't know that I could do this. She had them place them physically in a pyramid according to how she judged them, from the bottom to the top. Those she judged harshly, and the therapist had her say why she judged them. So she placed them at the bottom of the pyramid, and she had to tell them. Like, for instance, one of them had terrible grammar. Well, that was, she was judging her for her grammar. Another one, she didn't like her clothing. She thought they were old and torn and tattered. And then these women were at the bottom of the pyramid, and then they went on up. Another one couldn't hold down a job, right? But the one at the top was an elegantly groomed, articulate woman. And all the others were just in the middle. And I'm looking around, and I'm looking at everybody in the audience, and they're just going, there's no way I could ever do that. That was, what a gut-wrenching experience. And Mary said that. She said this was one of the most gut-wrenching experiences I ever had. Having to say out loud what she thought, how she judged them, was excruciatingly painful. This is her safe place, her group of women, right? Seeing the expressions on their face as she placed them in order and told them why they were in that position was haunting. She became completely vulnerable to their judgments and their criticisms of her, judgments and criticisms of her, and that to her was just terrifying. So what happened to her? What happened after she got over the shame and the mortification of who she was? She got a great gift. She got to see that she could be loved even when she was being horribly judgmental, because as painful as it was for the women to have that experience, they loved her enough to go through it. They didn't criticize her back. They just simply loved her and accepted her. They offered her agape love. And she believes that this was the first time that she ever truly experienced agape love. The result of the exercise was that the critically and harshly judgmental voice that she had in her turned into a compassionate and caring voice. The care and concern that she had for those women and everyone else deepened 100-fold as a result of it. Mary had peeled away the barrier of judgment to experience, to give, and to receive agape love. And I realized this experience Mary had was like being authentic and vulnerable on steroids, because I don't expect anyone to ever want to do this, and we're not going to do anything like that here this morning. But I'm willing, if you might be willing to do just a little something with me this morning. Last week we dipped our toes a little bit into being vulnerable, remember? And this week I want to maybe step into our ankles. And she's shaking her head, no, I don't think so, if you're willing. It's not that hard. I'm not going to make you do any of that. So, okay, if you are, or just take a moment and think about some way you may have been judgmental of another, and then form one sentence to describe it. Like, here's an example. I judged the grocery clerk for being so slow in checking me out. I internally criticized a friend for her choice of food when she said she's on a diet. I found fault with the decision that so-and-so made about. I felt the driver in front of me didn't know how to drive and shouldn't be on the road. That's mine. You don't need to say who you judged, nor do you need to be too specific. Just enough for you to get down, just a little in touch with your own judgment. So do you all have a situation where you have a little sentence? Okay. If you're willing to play, just say your sentence out loud all at once. We'll just all say it all at once. So ready, set, go. I judged the driver in front of me and didn't think he knew how to drive. Okay.
Say that?
Let's do it again for good measure. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. I judge the driver in front of me for not knowing how to drive. All right. Now here comes the authentic and vulnerable part. Turn to someone and say it. When you receive the information from someone, so someone's going to say it to you and you're going to say it to someone else, what you'll say back when you receive this information is, it's okay, you're okay, and you deserve to be loved.
What are we supposed to say?
It's okay, you're okay, and you deserve to be loved. So, turn to someone if you're willing to play.
No one here is okay.
Yeah.
It's
I think so. What I was talking about, it feel like.
Said
I
what?
said,
Oh, well,
they are.
Okay, that's okay.
yeah. I don't feel.
And you deserve to be loved.
What I find when I stop judging people is I judge myself less. The less I judge other people, the less I judge myself.
That is the key right there.
And it's really hard to get started not judging other people, but then you find you're nicer to yourself, so it's easier not to judge people because you love yourself more.
Well, Paul, we don't know you, so we guess you're perfect.
No, we did know. That's good. But no, that is the key. And Suzanne just said the thing. Say it again, Suzanne.
When I judge other people less, I judge myself less. And the less I judge myself, it's easier to be nice and not judge other people because you like yourself more. I think the more you like yourself, the less you judge others.
I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
you're right. So take a deep breath. Place your hand on your heart. Say it out loud. I'm okay and I deserve to be loved. 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 I'm okay and I deserve to give love. I'm okay and I deserve to give love. I'm okay. In fact, I am agape love. I'm okay. In fact, I'm agape love. And that is the truth, the spiritual truth of each and every one of you. You were born of, made in the image and likeness of agape love. It is who you came here to be. It is what you came here to express. In his book, The Path to Love, Deepak Chopra offers some beautiful words of what love is really meant to do. And this sounds a little like Emmett Fox's description of love that I shared just a few minutes ago. Deepak says, love is meant to heal. Love is meant to renew. Love is meant to make us safe. Love is meant to inspire us with its power. Love is meant to oust all fear. Love is meant to bring peace. Love is meant to harmonize differences. Love is meant to bring us closer to God. And I will add, love is the pathway to being big for God. So, are you ready to dare to create great love as you release judgment of yourself and others? It's the question of this morning.
Yes.
Okay. It can be our greatest challenge, and yet I think it offers us our greatest reward. And so it is.